Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I'm so happy to see everybody. This is Ritual and Science with Lisa Lansing, because you do not have to choose between the woo-woo and the science. You're really designed for both. And so I just want to jump right in. I was out last week. I'm so glad to be back. And I really just wanted to start by naming something that's really important to me, because I think that it's the thread that holds every episode together. And that is that I'm a shamanic energy practitioner, and I believe healing is ancient. So long before allopathy, people understood that the human body was multidimensional. And even in the yogic traditions, you hear about the different constitutions, you hear about the different doshas, energies moving through the system. Across all earth-based traditions around the world, you have this similar concept. And then allopathy started in the 1800s, maybe a little bit before. I'm not a medical anthropologist, so I'm not exactly clear on the evolution of allopathy, but that's when we started treating the body as a machine. And the body's not a machine. The body is this multi-dimensional being, because we have the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body. It's that divine spark inside you. And the energy body, it's that invisible layer of information where life force flows through you, but also where stress, shock, grief, trauma, and even other people's energy can get hung up. So when I talk about healing, I'm never talking about just a symptom. I'm talking about an ecosystem. And the reason I love integrating shamanic practice with functional health is because they meet at the same doorway: regulation. I mean, it's so fascinating to me that the very foundation of health is something that ancient practitioners have known for millennia. So when your nervous system is in protection, the body can't fully repair. When it's in rest and repair, suddenly everything you're doing starts to land differently. So just think about it like this: every time you get so sick and you are just in bed, that is rest and repair. Like, your body is forcing you to go into rest and repair. And the problem is that we don't get a lot of rest today in our waking hours because we live in hustle culture. So when you're sick, your body's forcing you to do it. But have you ever had that unfortunate experience when you're really sick, but you can't stay in bed because you've got some kind of obligation that you have to do, and how much longer and harder it takes for you to recover? Well, I'm going to talk today about foundations, and I'd like to also mention why minerals are a really powerful place to do some testing. So welcome back to Ritual and Science. I'm Lisa Lansing. This is a space where modern functional health meets ancient energy healing practices. And we talk about what creates real embodied sustainable change. Today's episode is for you if you've been doing all the right things: eating clean, supplements, maybe you work out, maybe you're going to therapy, you're doing meditation apps, you're listening to the podcast, and you're really trying to get better, feel better, and yet you're still not getting the results you expected. So I'm going to walk you through what I call the hierarchy of healing, what health foundations actually are, and why a simple mineral test can often be one of the smartest first data points in functional testing. And just a quick note, I am not diagnosing anything. I'm a functional health practitioner. I am not a doctor. Those are two totally different lanes. I never diagnose, treat, prescribe. That is not my wheelhouse. I am not a disease manager. What I help you do is find the best possible healer inside yourself. And we use some tools to get there. So I'm just teaching you how to think, hopefully, give you some fresh ideas, things like that. So, one of the biggest things that we see in the functional health space is a person goes to the doctor and the doctor runs the standard labs. That's usually the complete blood count and a metabolic panel. And then you get your lab results back and your labs are fine. Your doctor says everything's normal. And you're not feeling like everything's normal. You're like, really? Nothing? And the doctor might genuinely be trying to help you. Maybe you said, oh, I'm not sleeping, I have bloating, I'm depressed, or, whatever your symptoms are. The doctor usually offers standard suggestions like maybe you need to get a little more exercise, try the Mediterranean diet, watch your sugar, manage your stress. And these suggestions are super helpful. But what I want you to understand is that just because your labs come back normal, that doesn't automatically mean you're okay. It often means you're outside of a disease-focused range. Now, I know I've said this several times on some of these apps, but I'm going to say it again. When your labs come back normal, but you don't feel normal, it means you're not sick enough yet. You're in that perfect place of prevention. Because most conventional lab ranges are designed to catch disease when it's advanced enough to show up. So if you're feeling depleted, trending toward dysfunction, but you haven't crashed entirely yet, you're still going to land in that normal range and feel awful. And keep in mind that the normal range is really just a reference range, and it's a range for everyone who's taken the test, from the sickest to the healthiest. And so it's not an indication of health. It's an indication of disease. But most people hear from the doctor that their labs are fine. And then they're like, what, am I being dramatic? Do I just have anxiety? Is this all in my head? Because I don't feel fine. And what it just usually means is that your body's communicating. And the trick is, how do you interpret what your body is trying to say? And in functional health, we try to look at the patterns earlier. We're looking for dysfunction long before it becomes a disease. So I'd love to give you an example here, but I've got all my technology and it's just a matter of me getting it figured out. So let me see if I can do that. Give me a quick sec. I did it. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, getting the technology sorted. All right, this is lab results from what's called a CBC, complete blood count. And I just want to give you an example. And we're going to look at the white blood cells. And you can see that I have that highlighted here. So white blood cells, right? This is your immune system, these white blood cell count. And notice way over here on this side, the reference interval is between 3.4 and 10.8. So the doctor is going to say, look, if you fall within that range, you're fine. But look at these numbers here, 5 to 8. That is the range for functional health. Depends on the practitioner. Every practitioner might have a slightly different range, 5 to 8. So if you're coming in at 10.8, that's usually an indication of an acute infection. If you're coming in under 5, that's usually an indication of a chronic infection. And so for a functional health practitioner, what we're looking at is we're going, this is a little low. We might need to do more investigation, right? And this is the reason why you're feeling crappy, is that it's very possible that you have a chronic infection and that's just not coming up. So I think that that's a really interesting thing for y'all to know. And then I just want to show you just a couple of others that are really important. Again, let me just pull this up a tiny bit higher. So when it comes to calcium, which I have highlighted right here, when it comes to calcium, The doctor is telling you that 8.7 to 10.3 is a healthy range. So if you fall within that range, you're normal. But if you don't fall, but for functional health, it's 9.2 to 10.1. Look at the protein marker here. Protein is between 6.8 or 6.0 and 8.5. Look at that right here. And our client is coming in here at 6.7. The functional range is 6.9 to 7.4. So typically, when you're too low or too high in the protein arena, it usually means that there's an absorption issue. Somewhere vessels are leaking. Could be leaky gut. Who knows? So I just wanted to show you a few things so that you could go, oh, and you want to just take a look at your blood work sometime and question any marker that seems really close to the high or the low area. You might want to question, like, is that really truly healthy? So the reason why this matters is because most people don't wake up one day with a full-blown diagnosis out of nowhere, right? Most people are drifting over the years slowly toward that marker that finally tags the doctor. So you're slowly losing your reserves. You're slowly losing regulation, losing capacity until finally the body can't compensate anymore. And that's just the way it goes. But in functional health, we're always trying to find, where are your opportunities to build health? And all right, how do I heal? How do I get better? And this is the question that so many people have. And from a functional health lens, most functional health practitioners understand that there's a hierarchy of healing and that there's a reason why people plateau. And what a lot of people don't understand is that if you skip the foundations of health building and just jump right into expensive labs and really big protocols, and you're going to do a really hard, heavy metal detoxification, you're going to be super aggressive, and you're going to do all these complex hormone stacks, what we often see is that you might make some progress initially and then you hit a wall. And it's not because you failed. And it's definitely not because you didn't try hard enough, but it's because the foundations of health weren't built. And I want you to try to picture it like this. It's like trying to build your dream observatory on the roof of a house made of toothpicks. I know this amazing amateur astronomer who built observatory on his roof, and it's just like incredible. But can you imagine if you tried to build it on a house made of toothpicks, right? You can't build health unless you build the foundations. And let's just talk about I call them gulps, the GLP-1s, right? This is the Ozempics. The gulps, we've got all these people on these gulps, and for some people it's really working well, but a lot of people are struggling because you can't use a powerful protocol to replace foundations. These protocols demand that a body can hold the change. And if you're trying to address issues and you get on these protocols and initially they really work, but then all of a sudden these new symptoms are appearing, you're having new issues, it's because you didn't build health initially. And this is the part that people hate because it's simple and it's repetitive and it's definitely not sexy. But the number one thing, and I was just at a conference last week with all of these functional health coaches and doctors and nurses and just these incredible minds. And all of us, we're all talking about how you cannot build health if your nervous system is not in rest and digest, if you're in a constant place of protection. And what does that look like? It's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, cocoon, shut down. The problem is that we live in hustle culture. That I know so many of my friends say to me, I just can't sit down because I just feel like, oh my God, I could be doing this and I could get this done and I could be doing that. I mean, so many of us are programmed to do, knock off the list. And we're so used to it that we are in total denial because we don't realize that our breath is shallow, and we don't realize that we're bracing, and we don't realize that we're just using our willpower and our coffee to drag ourselves through the day. So the first step in healing is getting your body into rest and repair, period. There is not a workaround for this. There just isn't. So the very first step of getting yourself healthy is taking the time. So remember, when your body gets sick, there's a reason why you're in bed. You're in bed because the body has to stop. Every single resource has to be used to recover. And what happens with chronic stress is, again, it's that slow drifting, right? It's a slow drifting into feeling crappy. And it's like, oh, you don't feel so great. And then a couple years go by, it's like a little bit worse. And then a couple more years go by, and you're just so used to it. Yeah, I got to do this in the morning because I'm so clogged or whatever. You just get used to all of your symptoms. And what we really need to do is take time to regulate the nervous system, bring the body out of protection and into rest and repair. And for many people, this is a step they skip because it doesn't feel productive. It doesn't feel like a lab result, and it doesn't feel like a plan. But then later when they plateau and they wonder, why am I not getting better? It's because the system was never safe enough to receive the change. So let me just make this practical if I can. So just take a moment to just sit and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Are your shoulders up? Are they down? Do you have tall posture? Posture is a really important part of feeling good. Tall spine, soft heart. These are really important parts of being in rest and digest. Where's your body feeling any tightness? A lot of people feel it in their chest. Some people feel it in their belly. And is your breath shallow? Do you feel like you're breathing up here? Or do you feel like you can breathe from your gut? You don't need to do anything fancy. Just soften one thing. See if you can feel your feet. Imagine your feet are wide and long like snowshoes. Lengthen just one exhalation. Coming into presence, that's just the beginning of building a foundation. And it's not about coming into presence with me on my live show. It's about coming into presence throughout the day. You're in the car, you're at a stoplight, come into presence. You pull up in the driveway and you're going to get out of your car, take a moment, come into presence. It's just a foundational step, right? So small shifts is what we're looking at when it comes to the next step. So the first step is regulating your nervous system, breath work, grounding. There's a practice called non-doing that I really love, where you just sit and you look out the window for 5 minutes. If it's warm enough where you live, go sit outside for 5 minutes. Don't take your phone. Maybe turn the timer on in your phone and, leave it on the porch or something so that you can hear the timer when it goes off. But you want 5 minutes of just witnessing the world around you. Deep breathing, do nothing, non-doing. It's a really wonderful practice. And you also need to find ways to be in a relaxed state when you're awake. So many people fall asleep during meditation because their body doesn't know that they should stay awake. They get so relaxed, it feels like sleeping. But we want to be able to make it through a meditation eventually without falling asleep. When you fall asleep, it's just an indicator that your body's really tired. So I want to emphasize something really important, and that's the idea of small shifts. When it comes to health building, don't ask yourself to become a perfect wellness person. Instead, think about building a base your body can actually stand on, and no two people are the same. Like, I have clients who are like, absolutely, I'm never giving up coffee. And then I have other clients who are like, I'd like to give up coffee and move to matcha, right? Whatever you need, you have to really work with yourself to figure that out. So the first step after working on nervous system regulation is food. And this is another thing that people are very attached to, their diets and their food and the things that they're eating. And again, it's not about perfection. It's not about going through a full elimination diet yet. And I would only do that if some advanced functional testing said that you needed to do that, right? But when you're building health, you're going to start with the simplest things like processed foods. Processed food isn't just calorie, it's information. It tells your body, let's get inflamed, let's raise the blood sugar, let's deplete the minerals, let's mess up the gut, right? So processed foods they do not have the nutrition that you need to be a healthy being. So the amount of sugar in modern life is not normal. So I just want you to imagine that 100 years ago, people ate 5 pounds of sugar a year. And you can Google this. Today depends on, which search engine, I suppose, but today it can be as high as 140 pounds, 120. It's definitely over 100 a year. That is how much the average American. And we wonder why all of our chronic illnesses are on the rise. And it's our bodies did not evolve to eat that level of sugar. Right. And so that's something that's really important. And eating that kind of sugar really destabilizes your blood sugar. And the nervous system gets really reactive, and sleep is a lot more fragile. And then you get all these weird cravings, and then you feel hungry when actually it's usually the candida in your body that's sending the signal to the brain, like, give me sugar, right? It's actually not you. It's those sentient beings that are your friends, those lovely beings inside you, all of your bacteria. They're hungry. And when you eat a lot of sugar, they want more sugar. So this is the really important thing to remember about changing your diet, is that you want to pick, like, what's the one thing that you can do? Is it processed foods? Is it sugar? Is it giving up alcohol? What's the one thing you can start with? And that's where you start, just the one thing. Then we move into rest. And I talked a little bit about this already. It's not just about sleeping at night, but learning how to downshift when you're awake. And I talked about the non-doing practice. And that's something that I really feel that everyone needs to do 2 or 3 times a day. And it's so funny because people will say, I don't have time to practice non-doing. But it's interesting. The more you practice non-doing, the more time you have to practice non-doing. So a lot of people only rest when they collapse, right? And they finally get sick enough that they're forced to. But healing requires a nervous system that can practice rest without collapsing. And again, try to find those moments in your life where you cannot do, but you can just be. And if any of you try this, I would love to hear how it goes for you, because this is an ancient shamanic practice. And again, all of our ancestors from all over the world really knew a lot about healing. And if we could bring some of that knowledge back into today's world, I think we would see a major shift, one person at a time. Now, a lot of what impacts your sleep and your nervous system is invisible because, energy is invisible. But I want you to think about something like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Like, we know that Wi-Fi is there and we know that Bluetooth is there, but we can't see it, right? And it's just like energy. You can't see the energy that's affecting you, but you can feel it, right? Like if you're in a room and someone with like some super heavy energy walks in, most people can really feel that, or they might feel their chest tighten, or they want to get away really quickly and they're not sure why. Well, the same is true for modern sleep disruptors. You can't see it, but you can sort of feel it, but you don't realize. So there's blue light, there's noise, but it's the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth close to the bed. And if you could either turn your Wi-Fi off at night or at least move your devices out of your room at night. Now, I know for a lot of you, you need your phones nearby, and this is why it's such a shame we no longer have landlines, because landlines didn't disrupt us the way that Wi-Fi does. So Wi-Fi can disrupt your sleep, and so can Bluetooth. And I heard about a study about 2 years ago. I was doing a mold course with this woman, and she was talking about some scientists who took petri dishes of mold, and they put one in a Faraday cage. And a Faraday cage is a cage that blocks any kind of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, right? And then the other petri dish went into room that had both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi right next to it. And the thing that was so interesting about the mold is that the mold that was exposed to the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi grew like 600 times faster. So we don't really understand what Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, what they're doing to our bodies. And if you have any kind of illness or any kind of chronic issue, you don't really know. We don't really know what's happening. And it's just better to get the devices out of the room because they won't interfere with your brain, because we do know they interfere with the brain. So this is just an example of an invisible input that could matter, right? This is just one example of an invisible input that could come into your life and cause disruption. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. See if you can remove those from your bedroom if possible. So the third foundation, small shift, is movement. So movement is tricky because if you're burned out, the answer is not punishing workouts. Like, you don't want to work out more. Overtraining is a massive stressor and it can deepen depletion. And I lived this firsthand, and I know this really, really well because I am a gyrotonic and Pilates master teacher. And for years, when I was feeling low, I thought, oh, I got to work out harder. I got to push my workouts. And really, all I was doing was creating deeper depletion. So what I want you to remember is that if you're burned out, you want to pull back on the working out. And there are tests that you can take to see if you are really burnt out or not. But the other thing about excessive working out is that it can worsen hunger and cravings, because what happens is that you go right into a stress response. It pulls that cortisol loop, and it's not actually doing the benefit that you think it is when it comes to like building muscle and testosterone and all these other things that exercise can do for the body. Instead, cortisol is like, I'm not safe. This is insane. And it runs through a stress loop rather than a repair loop. So for some people, the most therapeutic movement is 2 or 3 30-minute walks a week. That's it. Or a gentle mobility, getting circulation back into the joints. And if you're sedentary, the answer is not shame. Oh, I had a woman who came to me once, and she was in her late 40s and she hadn't worked out since high school. But here she was showing up and wanting to get stimulation in her joints again. And that's so commendable. Like, let's go. So, what we want is circulation, right? We want gentle joint movement. We want consistency. Your body needs movement because movement is how you move fluid, lymph, oxygen, and information in the body. So, in the gyrotonic expansion system, one of the principles is stimulation leads to life and lack of stimulation leads to death. So you see this all the time. People who never move their feet, they have very little ability to flex or point their ankles. They have very little ability to move their toes because they never use those joints. And so those joints over time start to get very inactive and unable. It's almost as if they have lost all nerve responses. And that is leading to decay. And so I personally feel that if you're a sedentary person, one of the best things that you could do is a really gentle qigong. Work with someone who does Tai Chi, just very gentle, even in the chair. You could do a very gentle gyrotonic session with someone. If you want to know more about that, you can send me a note. I'd be happy to help you find someone. Or you could do like restorative yoga because you want to get the joints moving just enough to get your circulation going. So that's enough about, I could talk about that forever. Let's move on to foundation number 4 is hidden stressors. So this is where people get really stubborn, but it really matters. This is your body projects, your detergents, your fragrances, your plastics, your non-stick cookware. If you're wearing perfume today, stop. From a functional health perspective, perfume is one of the worst things that you could do for your body. Now, I'm not saying essential oils because some people really respond well to essential oils. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about chemicalized perfumes. And that includes plugging in those things in the wall that create scent, like, you're just breathing in poison. Because all of these things, your detergents, your fragrances, your plastics, they're all biochemical inputs. Your liver, your immune system, your hormones, your nervous system, they all have to deal with them. They're all dealing with them. Now, you don't have to do a total lifestyle overhaul overnight, but what I would do when it comes to hidden stressors, so the hidden stressors are all those stressors that are at play that you can't see, and many of them are in your home. If you don't know where to start, my recommendation is to make one change and one change only, and that's your detergent for your clothes. Go to the Environmental Working Group. They have a healthy living app and they rate all of the detergents out there, and they'll let you know where yours rates. And it's pretty shocking. Even some of the products that you think are so clean still are cancer causing. So just go take a look. I use Attitude, and I just I'm able to buy it online, and Attitude is a really wonderful detergent, and I never have any breakouts. When my son was really little, he used to break out, and we just started going clean with all of our products because that was his little body responding, his liver and his immune system going, I can't take this. So we needed to reduce the input of toxins, and these are those hidden stressors. Now, of course, there are other hidden stressors: stress at work, stress at home, stress in relationship, and then, of course, stress and chemical exposure. And again, small shifts. Just choose one thing to shift. And this is where really functional health testing becomes really helpful, because while you're building the foundations, you can also collect data, and not from fear, but from a place of safety. And that's what brings us to minerals. So I just want to talk about labs for a quick minute, and then I'm going to wrap up. So here's the thing. Functional testing is really powerful, but it can also be very expensive, confusing, and overwhelming. And here's the thing, is that your insurance company is not going to pay for any of this, because it's a disease care system. Now, some of you might be able to get your health HSA accounts if you have a credit card. Those can pay for it, but your insurance company will not cover anything. And we're talking about hormone panels that start at $550. We're talking about food sensitivity panels that start at, $390 and can go all the way up to $1,000, $1,200. We're talking about total tox panels, genetic panels, mold panels, adrenal panels. I mean, there's so many panels, and they're so powerful and useful in the right order and for the right person. And the mistake I see all the time is that people are deciding, oh, I'm going to run 1,000 tests and we're going to find it all. And that's because a lot of functional health programs work that way. They say, okay, let's test for everything and build health. And I get that. But the problem is that most people aren't ready to receive a protocol. Most people in America today need to build health first and then do the testing. So that's why going with a mineral test is really the best way to go when you're building health, because it's not a blood snapshot of today. A mineral hair test gives you a window into how your body's been managing minerals across the last several months, 3 months. It's like your body's keeping a diary, and you're going to look at your diary. So the reason why that's really interesting is that you can do one test, and it's a pretty inexpensive test compared to other tests, and it can tell you, are you struggling with blood sugar issues? What's your adrenal pattern look like? How stressed are you? How's your thyroid doing? Do you have inflammatory patterns? What's going on with your digestion? Are you getting more colds or less colds? It even tells us things about what kind of trauma is stuck in your body and how long has it been stuck in your body. These are really, really powerful tools, because minerals are involved in essentially every metabolic process in the body. Everything: energy production, blood sugar stability, hormone regulation, nervous system function, sleep architecture, detox pathways, tissue repair, neurotransmitters, mood, stress tolerance. Minerals are a part of how your body turns food into energy, and how your body turns stress into chemistry, and how your body comes out of stress and into repair. So when demand goes up, like if you have chronic stress, if you're just hustling, you're in the hustle culture, your body is going to use your minerals faster, and they deplete faster. And that's why someone can be doing everything right and still feel like they're just not recovering. So a simple example is magnesium. So every cell, every cell in your body requires magnesium. Everyone. And the brain has really high magnesium demand. The heart has high magnesium demand. Magnesium supports relaxation, stress tolerance, blood sugar metabolism, and a lot of the chemistry required for calm, like when your muscles are spasming. Magnesium. So when you're stressed out for a really long period of time, your body is going through magnesium faster. And that can show up as tension, poor sleep, anxiety loops, cramps, you name it. And you just can't feel like you can calm down. So what I'm trying to say is that test your minerals. Find out if you want to really get healthy, and if you are feeling like crap and you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you're normal, and you know you're not normal. Start with small shifts. Regulate your nervous system. That's the number one thing. If you don't start with that, sorry, it's just not going to work. You're not going to get better. And then you're going to make a small diet shift. You're going to do a small rest exercise. You're going to make some kind of change in your sleeping arena. You're going to do something different with your movement if necessary. And then you're going to try to remove or address some hidden stressors. And then you can test your minerals, find out what you need to supplement, right? Because on the test that we get back, we can find out if you are creating energy quickly when you eat, or if you create energy slowly when you eat. And that has everything to do with how you pack your dinner plate, your breakfast bowl, has everything to do with that. And just having just that information alone is a huge shift. So test your minerals, find out where you stand. Because minerals are the foundation for everything going on, it just gives us a direction. It tells you, I'm going to balance my minerals for a little while. As you're building health, you're balancing your minerals. And then if there are some symptoms that don't go away, because believe me, a lot of your symptoms are going to resolve just by doing the most simple health rebuilding work. But if they don't, that test tells us where to go. You know what? I think we need to look at your thyroid. You're going to look at the test and you're going to say, you know what? I think my blood sugar is off. I think I'm going to need to do a look at blood sugar. And that's what I love about mineral testing, is that it just opens the window so you know exactly where you stand and where you're going to have to focus your efforts when you're ready. So what I want you to leave with today is that you don't need a new identity, and you don't have to become a perfect wellness person, and you don't need any more shame, and don't blame yourself, right? Because it's not about that. You just need a better map. It's like holding a map, and it's like, how do I get from here to here? Okay, first, second, third step, right? And you need a foundation that your body can actually stand on. So the hierarchy of healing really matters. Regulate the nervous system, build foundations, food, rest, movement, hidden stressors, and then use the data from minerals to choose the right next step. Give yourself 3 months of health foundations before you jump into some crazy hormone protocol. Just try to give yourself some time. You don't get into dysfunction overnight. It takes time. It's going to take time to get out of dysfunction, because this is not allopathy. This is not a pill for an ill and you take a pill and 2 days later you feel better. This is changing everything at the root, and that takes time. So if you want to know more, I am here. I would love to help you. Let's just throw up a couple of QR codes here. So first of all, I'd love it if you want to join my mailing list. Join the mailing list. That would be great. I can send you, I don't send a lot of stuff, so it's actually pretty great if you want to get on my mailing list. I don't barrage you with a ton of stuff. The other thing I would love for you to do is order your body wisdom mineral analysis. This is the test that helps you find out about your minerals. This is a great starting point. So feel free to order that here. You can do that, or call your local functional health practitioner and do it with them. The trick is do it. Find out where you are. Now, I do offer a program, and it's called the Hummingbird Path, and I have 2 different ways that you can do that program with me. The first way is a group program, and it's a really beautiful combination of shamanic healing practices and functional health, and how we can really tap into this ancient wisdom that's been passed down for so many generations to get into some root cause healing. And I do that either one-on-one, or we can do that in a group. And my group session is going to come up later this spring. So get on the early bird list. I'd love that if you'd like to do that. Now, for those of you who really would like to do an energy session with me, I would love to do that. I do them both online and in person. So when I do them in person, you have to live in Cleveland. So if you don't live here, sorry, can't do it in person. I also do some crystal readings, and these are take 1 hour, and these are really great. It's kind of like looking at where your energy body is as opposed to looking where your minerals are. So the minerals kind of give us an understanding of the functional processing and where you are with trauma and stress. And a crystal reading gives us indication of where you are in your energy body and what's sort of impacting you or preventing you or keeping you from where you want to go. So crystal toss reading, those are really fun. They do take an hour. You could book a call with me. I'd love that. Book a call with me, 30 minutes. I do charge a small amount for a 30-minute call because otherwise I get a lot of people who sign up and don't show up. So please show up, sign up, show up. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, I have on my SoundPath sign up. And I'm pretty sure that this QR code just takes you right to TikTok. Every Friday morning, I like to say 8:30-ish. I do a sound experience with intention and just a way to get out of the chaos of the world and into your own personal light and allowing the light that's in your heart space to really shine through to the world and to yourself, giving yourself more of the beauty of you. So I think that's all I've got right now for you. I am just so thrilled that you even spent a minute listening to me talk on and on. I would love to support you in any way that I can. So feel free to send me a text or an email, Lisa at Coral Poppy, anything at all. And coming up soon, I'm going to have some guests on this show. So I'm pretty excited about that. So thank you. If there's anything that really spoke to you today, please forward this on to someone you love in your life, and maybe they too will benefit. And I truly hope that any merit from this talk goes to those most in need. Until the next time, bye.